And here we are. Hi, everyone. Dan here with John Schrader. We are live on the Designer Show. Thanks for joining us today. And John, I see, is in Bozeman, Montana.
Yep, Bozeman, Montana. Woke up to this morning. It was raining last night when we went to bed.
That's really pretty.
It is pretty. Yeah, it's nice.
That is amazing. Wow. Although it's not supposed to be snowing this time of year.
No, and other places that are getting more snow are going to lose a lot of tree branches, I'm afraid.
Oh, my. Yeah. You might have a little trouble getting out of there today, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is my picture from 2 weeks ago, but it hasn't changed much other than it's greener now. So I didn't get a chance to put a new picture up. So today, I want to welcome everyone. And the whole goal of this Designer Show is to just get a conversation started about value engineering. Okay, what is value engineering? It's well, let me read this lovely description I got from the internet. What is value engineering, and how can it help your project? Value engineering is in construction is defined as systematic and organized procedure to identify a necessary function of a design in a project to provide alternative solutions at a lower cost, while maintaining and surpassing original quality, safety, and function. Value engineering targets functionality of different construction materials, equipment, and processes to provide superior alternatives while maintaining original design objectives. How's that for an explanation, John?
That's pretty cool.
I saw that and I thought, I like that. That's really, I mean, it's pretty deep when it gets into, but it's really true. What we're trying to do is find alternatives that work just as well or better at lower cost. And with
while increasing the quality.
Exactly. So, so with what's going on in industry right now, with these prices going absolutely bonkers on your lumber and other things within the project, it's like, well, what can we do to maybe help in the process to offset some of those extra costs that are happening there? I know a lot of people, it seems like people are continuing with their projects, even though the prices have gone up, 30, 40,000 on a new home, and more in some cases. And then on large remodeling projects, you're going to deal with some of the same things, possibly partly because we've got lower interest rates. That's helping offset some of that. That might be part of it. I'd love to hear what other people are experiencing with that. So guys, please chime in on this topic, and what are you seeing out there as far as what people are doing? Are people postponing their projects? That's one of the concerns I have, is if these prices keep going, people are going to halt. They're going to wait to do their projects, and maybe that's a good thing, maybe not. I don't know. Is it going to affect our industry? I mean, I certainly don't have a crystal ball in any form whatsoever. Maybe we can go back and look a little bit of history to kind of see how this played out. Similar situations played out in the past, but I don't know. This is unprecedented, I think, with the way the prices are going. Are you aware of anything that was similar to this situation, John? Anybody out there? Are you aware of anything like this that's ever happened in the past? If so, let us know.
Yeah, I'm not. One couple of thoughts I have is a lot of people are moving around, changing where they live and stuff like that because of the pandemic. And money's still really cheap right now.
Yeah.
Mortgage rates are really low. So they're not, part of the thinking probably is they're not that afraid of paying more because the money's so cheap, versus if interest rates start going up, the house is going to be even more expensive than the 300% and 400% increase in materials we've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. And the housing market is, it's really a seller's market here in a big way, something I've never seen before for sellers. We had a realtor on the NARI show last week that was explaining, he was helping a client sell or buy this house, and they put an offer in $30,000 over the asking price. I don't know how big the offer was. And he said of the 50 people that were bidding on this house, they were in the bottom half of over the asking price. It's like, huh. I mean, I heard of a place in California that people gave them double on a house. It's just mind-boggling. I can't even fathom. And my neighbor down the street selling his house in a normal market, I'd say you'd probably get 450. And I'm looking at him, I'm saying, Bob, you can probably get 650 at this point, 600 easy, because it's a gorgeous house, moving condition, beautiful location, beautiful lot. It's just amazing. Just blows me away. Anywho, moving on here. Real quick commercial for the designer show here. The Mastering Chief Architect course is still happening. And by all means, we'd love to have you guys join us yet. So we have 6 more live classes left and 2 more Zoom calls, plus all of the classes that we've done so far are all recorded in the library already, ready for you to consume and get the information that we've been discussing. So been having a lot of fun with this one. We're really diving deep into the software, explaining, I mean, John, we're kind of going through every icon for the different types of topics we're talking about. And it's been fun to go through these. So ton of information. We'd love to have you into it. It's still there and you can get to it whenever you want. So please join us over at Chief Experts Academy. Just search for the Mastering Chief Architect course and the other courses that were there too. The structures, types, and terminology, creating a plan in Chief Architect. If you're looking to get started with Chief, this is probably the best option right there. Because in this course, we run through the whole process of how you put a plan together in Chief Architect. Plus, you get the templates with that class. You also get the templates with the Mastering class. Here we get into how to do all of the structural elements in Chief Architect, and then the Mastering course where we dive deep into the software and all of the function that's behind the scene. So that's our Chief Experts Academy courses. All right, back to our designer show. Got
a few comments there.
Oh, cool. What are the comments? Let me get back to that screen. Where'd you go, screen? I got too many tabs open. I've been missing the live, but the value of the course recording is very valuable. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. There's no slowdown in residential construction. In fact, it appears to be picking it up. Isn't that amazing? It's just mind-boggling. So existing home is okay. Is going for, existing homes in Oklahoma are going for unbelievable. And it's like that everywhere. They're going for crazy prices. Okay, not slowed down, but labor with stimulus money that are staying home. Yeah, I suppose there's some of that going on. Although, whatever. I mean, that's a whole different topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, the labor has always been and will continue to be a challenge in the construction world. It's just the way it's going to be. Back to this a little bit. I left these in here from a previous presentation. Just I've been doing this for a long time. Been teaching using Chief since '93. I've been doing websites, live classes. I do design coaching, design build coaching. Got 4 kids. Love biking, golfing, teaching. And John, you've been doing this for a long time, 85. You've been using Chief since 05. Long time. God, 16 years already. 17 years already. Where did that time go? You've been helping with all my classes. You're just wonderful to have along with to do that. I can't wait till we get back out there and do more. You do a lot of coaching. You do a lot of design with people. So if you guys are looking for help, John is a great alternative or great source, I should say, of getting help with your plans or coaching if you like. So just feel free to contact John. You can find out, get his contact information in our About tab at Chief Experts Academy. He loves traveling, as he proves time and time again, because he's never home. Of course, he's exploring the country, visiting all of his kids all over the country. So pretty cool for you, John. That's really awesome. So as we get into this whole topic, you can see, can John play the piano he has in his home? That was a different house. So
that was a canned background.
Yeah.
Play the piano.
Mm-hmm.
I can't sing either very well. So.
Well, that'd be kind of fun. We should try that sometime, huh?
Singing or playing the piano?
Both. We'll see how it goes. All right. The big question, what is the big question? It's just, I just thought of this topic last week and I thought, well, let's just do it. I don't know a ton about this topic, to be perfectly honest. So again, the goal here of starting a conversation is really what I'm after. So I guess got on Google and started searching a few terms, and it's amazing the amount of information you can find out there with just a few terms. Housing market predictions, value engineering, alternative residential home building materials, cheapest type of home to build per square foot, the not so big house. Of course, if you guys are familiar with Sarah Sasenka's book, the not so big house, she has a whole series of these books that are really excellent, where she dives deep into, let's add more quality to the house instead of quantity. So that highly recommend her series. What's that,
But
John?
the square foot price of those houses is way higher than a bigger house.
True, it is. It could be. Again, that's her whole deal, is let's pack more amenities into a smaller package versus let's just create a smaller package with some basic amenities. So it's just
you get a lower priced house, but the square foot price is going to be higher.
Exactly. So you guys, if you have some good search terms, would love to hear what your what your terms might be. If you've got some great information or websites, by all means, please share them with me or John or in the chat here. That'd be awesome. Would love to learn more about that. So what can designers and contractors do to continue delivering high quality projects for less cost? So, and again, I just copied this from a website: identifying the project scope, analyzing the function of the design, developing alternative solutions, accessing alternative solutions, cost of looking at the costs, presentation. Okay. So this is as the designer, you're going to go through this process. The whole goal of this, and the reason we're talking about this on the designer show, is we want to bring these alternative solutions to the client, to the contractor in the design phase of the project, not when the project's half over. So that, you don't want to have to shift course while your project's in construction. It just doesn't work very well. Hello, Paul Choate. How are you today? Thanks for joining us. Mike says, when he was a framer, I only got paid by heated space footage. So I built the garage and porches for free. Okay. Well, you should have just charged more for the heated space. Okay. That's another way to do it.
In that case, if you want a cheaper house, just build a garage.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
And then you can get it built for free.
That's one way to do it. So let's just talk about something else too. When we consider this, as a contractor and as a designer working with a contractor, what can you do in your business to help keep the job costs down, keep the costs of the project down? Because there's probably a lot of waste going on out there in a lot of companies that don't have some of these systems in place. But, just learn how to run your business more effectively. And that goes without saying for anything. I mean, just period. Initiate and maintain an accurate job cost system. This is one, I think it's getting better out there in the industry, but this is an area that I've seen a lot of contractors miss the boat on. You've got to know every penny of everything that goes into each specific project. So you need to implement a job costing system that works for your business. However you do it, whether it's a spreadsheet, whether it's QuickBooks, whether it's one of the other thousands of accounting programs out there, you've got to know the costs that go into every project. That'll help you now, and it'll help you in the future when you're working on future projects. Work with your crews, let them know the situation. Hey, you bid on a job, you locked in a price, and now you're paying a whole slew more for materials. What can we do to put our heads together to save some money on this project? Hopefully you've got clauses built into your contracts. This is for the contractors out there, that, if the prices go up, which they have been and will continue, you're only locking in that price as long as the lock you can get from your lumber company. So I know our local lumber company, Sher Brothers here, will lock a bid price for 90 days because that's how long their stock lasts. So, which is kind of interesting how they do that. I don't know how they roll over the stock. Enact better management processes, checklists, and get fixed prices from your subs and suppliers. Of course, if they were smart too, they would be putting a clause in their agreement that says if prices go up, you have to pay more. So, okay, yeah. So some of our trade and vendor pricing is good for 1 week. Isn't that amazing? Prescriptive dollar versus engineering dollars. Prem, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Maybe you could offer a little bit more explanation on that. John, do you understand that?
My guess is it's prescriptive, like the energy code is prescriptive, telling you how you're gonna accomplish what they want. Where engineering in the energy code would be, you're gonna do all the calculations to make the system work the way the code wants it to work instead of just going by what the code says. So it'd be the same thing in engineering.
Try to get prescriptive all the time. Okay. So we agree. Try to get prescriptive all the time. Cool. All right. So let's look at a few different things. I mean, I just threw together a list of things as I was doing some research and things that come to mind here. And I would love you guys to put in what kind of things you're doing to lower the cost of your projects. Okay. I think this is really important that we share, let's put our heads together on this and share some ideas, using reclaimed wood and other materials. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty obvious. If you got some leftover wood somewhere, use it. If you can get some wood that's used and it'll fit in a project, use it. Keep the dimensions in 2-foot increments. Don't build that room addition at 16 foot 6 inches, because that extra 6 inches means you're going to waste a lot of material. Now your 16-foot boards have to go to 18. Your sheets are going to get cut off and you're going to have extra sheets involved. So that's a pretty simple thing to do in your plans. Just keep them in those 2-foot increments. And I found that works really well. Reduce excessive construction waste. I suppose that could go in a lot of ways. But again, I think with a tight plan, with the right dimensions, with ordering the right material, one of those might be, I know some contractors, they just put 2x10 headers everywhere. So they're buying all these 2x10s to do their headers. Well, why not use the right size headers above the right size openings? If you only need 2x4s over an opening, just use those. Don't use 2x10s. So that's just, when material prices weren't such a big factor in a house. What's a 12-foot 2x10 go for now compared to a year and a half ago, John? Any idea?
No.
You have to look it up, but I would suspect a lot more, 4 times more, 2 to 4 times as much. A sheet of OSB is $40-50 or more versus 9 or 10, which it was a year and a half ago. 3D modeling. Okay, this is where you chief guys really benefit in that as you're putting your plans together, you can see problem areas as you're working on them. So how are you going to work those out in your plan? Bearing points, you can easily see those from floor to floor as you look at your 3D model and pull that together. Eliminating corners and designs. If you have a house that has lots of bump outs and angles and things like that going on, every time you can eliminate a corner, excuse me, you can eliminate some cost in that project. And that's going to make a big deal, a big difference.
Whenever people ask me how much per square foot this house is going to cost me, I say, I don't know. If you build a 20x20 house and it's 400 square feet, you've got 80 lineal feet of wall. But if I build that 400 square foot house, 400 by 1, I still got 400 square feet, but I got 802 lineal feet of wall. Right? So the shape of the house makes a big difference in what it costs to build it.
It really does. So even on a bigger house, if you start pulling out some of those little bump outs and, you know, crazy things like that, which in some cases they do make the design so you need them, but there are places that you can always simplify things. Eliminate hallways. I think you mentioned this yesterday, John, in your plans. Yeah. Just if you are designing it, if there's any way you can eliminate some of the hallway or all of the hallway, it's just wasted space that, you know, if you can get it out of there, man, that's going to make a big difference. 1.5 story construction methods. I've done a lot of work for a guy named Bruce, and he built a lot of houses like this, where he would use those type of trusses for the second floor of the house. Now, of course, he's not getting as much square footage, but he actually put these up within, he and a helper would put those up. I mean, he had his Bobcat here, he'd lift the trusses up and bam, they'd get that all done in a day. He really had a good system down. He designed a lot of his houses like this, and they really turned out to be gorgeous looking houses. I mean, that's a good looking house when it's all said and done. So he focused more on doing nice finishes inside, a little bit better casing, things like that. But his construction methods were always extremely simple and easy to do. So, so he really did a nice job. And he could put up a real nice house, save his clients some money, and his margins were better than most. So that's just another construction method that I highly recommend. You've done much of this kind of stuff, John?
Not a ton, but that's my favorite design right there. You know, as far as being cost effective and stuff.
How are roof truss prices affected these days? Are they, you know, the same price of the lumber rolling into trusses, you guys out there? Yeah.
I'd also be interested to know how many people use trusses, you know, because there's a lot of places that they don't even use trusses.
True. A lot of people hand framed. Yeah. I know whenever I was building, I tried to use trusses whenever I could. It's just much easier to construct a project. You know, no need for beams or anything here. It's all built in. So just a much simpler method of construction. I don't know. I like trusses, but some guys just don't, you know, part of the problem with trusses is you got to wait, you know, for them. I mean, it's like anything else these days. You're 4, 6, 8, 12, 10, you know, whatever weeks out to get your trusses. That causes some real headaches sometimes. So something to keep in mind. Bring the fireplace inside the structure. If you're doing a zero clearance fireplace, you know, don't put the chase on the outside of the building. Bring it on the inside of the building, and then just run your venting out. That's going to save you corners. It's going to eliminate corners in that process, and that'll save you some money in putting that together. It's a lot cheaper to sheetrock something is to put siding on it. So something to keep in mind there. Again, but some projects you need that chase to make the design work. So we've got a few comments here. Let's see. The RCU specifies many things that an engineer will charge more for. Yeah, that's, you know, IRC. Insulated concrete forms starting to look cost effective. I've had a few builders switch from traditional foundation and framing to all ICF. Partly because he was going to do a lot of the work himself in conjunction with the ICF supplier. It seems like many ICF suppliers will supply all the bracing and all the coaching and in some cases, some of the labor to help put these things up. One thing about ICF, you can never brace them enough. I had a friend of mine did an ICF once and they didn't brace this one wall enough and it started tipping. And it's like, oh shit, they had to tear it out and redo that whole wall. Not cool. Offsets may look cool, make a nice roof line, but it's a pain with most trades. Yeah, absolutely. Total project schedule for all trades based on tasks required to maintain construction schedule, plan construction drawings according. So you just having a good schedule for the project so everybody can get in and out as planned. That's huge. So I wonder how many contractors actually do construction schedules, because they're easy to do, but they're hard to implement. So it's like, okay, if one thing gets blown out a little bit, now everything's out of whack. I know a lot of the software products are making that a lot easier now. Right. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like job costing in a way. If you have a good software program that'll just adjust everything, when something doesn't work out, now you know where you're at, so you can kind of
Yeah.
with your other jobs and stuff. So
well, it's got to adjust, and then you got to make sure everybody's aware of the adjustment and that everybody's okay with the adjustment. So yeah, anytime you change that schedule, and if there's delays, okay, now the trusses are a week late. Great. Yeah, it's just screwed everything
there's
up.
software out there that'll do a lot of that work for you.
Yeah.
As far as keeping everybody in the loop.
Yeah, it's a lot of this. Yeah, your co-constructs, all of those type of softwares, you can run that kind of stuff through. We lost a lot of truss manufacturers in the 2008 recession. Yeah, we did, didn't we? I do remember that. There's one right down the street here from us that still closed up. EPCO. Is it EPCO? You might be aware of it, John, but they're gone. Yep. Yeah. Now they cost more and come from farther away. Okay. Because we have less of them. That's a good point. That's a really good point. Have any of you guys out there adopted any kind of new building methods that you weren't doing before? Are you using different materials? Are you doing, I was talking with my contractor in Texas here a few days ago, and he was saying that they could buy the oriented strand board framing lumber for just a few bucks more than typical lumber.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe it's just a supply and demand thing going on. They got a lot of this and not much of that. Yeah. So they're thinking they're going to do a lot of that now. It's just like, holy smokes.
And if he runs the whole package numbers and stuff, he might find out it's a wash or it's actually cheaper because he's not going to have the waste that he has with lumber.
Yeah, and now you've got now you've got a stronger building that's going to be straighter for the same price. It's just that's amazing. It's just amazing. I like those floor truss systems that were trimmable. Have you ever used those?
I've seen them. I haven't had a chance to use any of them.
Okay. Yeah, I always thought that was a great idea. I mean, I just learned about those about a year ago because in the past, you always had to know exact length and order the trusses the exact length, and you couldn't really trim them much. But now they have the trimmable floor trusses, which I think is fabulous. I got to assume they're probably doing something the same with roof trusses, maybe. I don't know. The same guy that does these story and a halves, he would typically use the same size windows throughout the project, with a few exceptions, of course. Bathroom windows are a little smaller, but he tried to keep everything real similar so that there wasn't much. It's hard to order things wrong when they're all supposed to be the same. Shared bathrooms, obviously the Jack and Jill, that's been around forever, and maybe these days that's not a bad idea to save the cost of a bathroom. Instead of putting a bathroom in every bedroom, let's share a bathroom. Straight run stairs instead of the L shape or U shape. I mean, that's going to be a whole lot easier to frame in and install than a different shape or even a curved stairway. And, using sheetrock walls, half walls instead of railings. I mean, that's going to save a bunch of money too. Again, a lot easier to throw up some sheetrock and paint than it is to put in a custom handrail. Less square footage with more amenities. Again, that gets back to the not so big house. So, you guys should check that out. Go Google not so big house, not so big remodeling. And I'd recommend you get Sarah's books or whatever other books you have. And if you guys have some books you recommend, type them in. I'd love to know more about what you guys are looking at.
Here's a less square footage for you. I tell people that in our van that we built out, we have a kitchen. We have a kitchen, a bathroom, living room, family room, 2 offices, a bedroom, a 2-stall garage, and a workshop. And it's all multiple uses.
In your van.
In our van.
There you go. Multi-use rooms.
So it's just fun,
Well, that's my living room is a office, a living room, a studio, productions place to do live videos.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Use your walkthrough spaces as a living space, instead of having hallways.
Yeah, we don't have any hallways in our house down the first level. I do it upstairs, but yeah, that's true. You walk through my kitchen to go through everywhere in my house. Prefab insulated concrete foundation panels. Yeah, that's another one. We talked about that in our structure class. That company makes those. Lake Holmes 5/8 T111 works for shear and siding. Shear and for sheathing and siding.
Yeah.
So you don't need to.
And the shear strength of the wall.
And the shear strength. Yeah, it works for, yeah. So you put that right over the studs and you're done. Yeah. You don't have to have both.
We got a lot of Lake Homes around us from the 50s that just used tongue and groove siding, was the sheathing and the siding.
Yeah. Yeah, they're used to, I think a lot of warm climates used to build that way. Now they put a little house wrap on there and then they put the siding on top of that or something, don't they? Yep. So that's cool. Big build as big as you need is high quality products. Yeah, same kind of thing with the smaller square footage. Mm-hmm. Stud space is at 24 inches. Is anybody doing that? I've read about that. It seems like it makes sense to me. My only concern is if with 1/2-inch sheetrock, is that enough support for 1/2-inch sheetrock? Although aren't they making the sheetrock stronger now?
Yeah.
So
I think on the walls it works. On the ceilings, you need to stick with 5/8 or a reinforced 1/2-inch.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys. What are you guys doing out there with your stud spacing? Have you done any of this? I mean, on a 2,000 square foot house, that's going to save a bunch of boards. I would think. I don't know if it's substantial, but why overbuild when you don't have to? Right. I used to work with a carpenter that he insisted on putting 2 trimmers on every window over 3 feet or something like that. The guy was insane. So he liked spending other people's money, but it wasn't ever going to go anywhere. So those kind of decisions can really affect the cost of a project these days by a lot. So yeah, use the right size framing in your projects. Wrap drywall on windows. Wrapping it into the frame versus putting an extension jam and casing on. That's going to save some money in the cost of a project. And down south, you see this all the time in a lot of houses. Contemporary houses, you see this quite a bit. Now, in a real traditional house, maybe not so much. But again, it's something you could propose to a client to maybe knock thousands off of the final package, which they could come back at a later date and add the casing anytime they wanted to, if that were the case. So I don't know, just something, those kind of ideas, if it's worth it or not, again, in this day and age with money so available. Here's one.
Green.
Jesus, thank you. Here we go. So I was just saying this picture right here. The one time I have a decent picture to show. So where you wrap the sheetrock into the jam versus putting the extension jam and casing on. So that's in a sill and all that. I see a lot of these down south, and you're gonna see maybe they'll use a marble or a solid surface sill down there. Pretty simple. Here's one I like. Use large pantries in kitchens instead of big pantry cabinets. Boy, you could take a lot of cabinets off of the table, or off of the plan, I should say, with a large pantry. And in many cases, a large pantry is going to be a lot more accessible and work better anyway. So, boy, that makes good sense to me. So just another way.
And even use the pantry for some of the, like your microwave and stuff like that, so you don't have to have a cabinet in the microwave.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Almost like a butler's kitchen. Yep. So let's see. We've got Park West 11 has done 2x4 since 1982, 24 in center since 1982. Cool. So and is that with the 2x6 construction or 2x4 or both? So be curious about that. I do that. I don't do that OVE. I just do how. No, not didn't catch that one, Mike. Advanced framing equal 24 inches on center studs, single top plate, etc. Okay. Yeah, Prem. Okay, yeah. Did you send me something in the past about that, Prem? I have read about this kind of stuff, and if you line up your joists and rafters with your studs as much as possible, and I could see where you start adding up all that extra lumber. That's going to cut a few bucks off the cost of a project and still have, you're still going to get just as good of a project, just as good of a structure. So that's a really good one. Sheetrock wrapped windows. So that's what OVE means, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Minimal trim. Great way to save a bunch of money on a project. Yeah, all your apartment buildings, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's what you're going to see. You can sell it to someone who likes to DIY work down the road as a cost-effective savings. Yeah, it's just, not much different than an unfinished basement. Hey, you guys can finish that later. We'll rough it in. All right, so smaller porches on a house. People want to have a porch, but does it have to be 20 feet long? Could you do an 8-foot long porch and still maintain the intended look of the building, the architectural styling of the building? I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things that anytime you can make a space a little smaller and still get the same intended results of that space, why not? 8-foot versus 9-foot ceilings. I mean, it seems like 9-foot's become the norm these days for most places. Are we going to start seeing people going back to more 8-foot construction with the cost of construction? I don't know. I mean, I'm just asking the question. Most of the projects I design are all at 9-foot. So the only time I really do 8-foot is when we're doing remodeling and trying to match up stuff. What's your experience on that, John?
I don't know. I guess my thought is, as long as, like I said before, as long as the mortgages are cheap, as far as the interest rates, I don't think we'll see much of a change. But if the interest rates start going up and the money starts getting more expensive, I think then we'll really start seeing some things.
I think there's one thing that is certain in our world, in our industry, and everywhere, is something's going to change soon. Something will change. Maybe not soon, but things will change. That's a given. That's part of what makes this also fun and exciting, is things are always changing. So Park West 11 says 2x6 exterior and 2x4 interior walls, both 24 inches on center. Okay, cool. So are you using different sheetrock, different drywall when you went to the 24 inches on center, or does regular drywall perform fine on that? That'd be a question I have. And how about your joist spacing? Are you doing like ceiling joists and roof joists? Are you doing 24 as well on those? Yeah, let us know. Love to hear what you're doing. You can go far with reducing materials. Yes. Optimized value engineering, OVE. I like that. That's better than value engineering. Cool. 8-foot ceiling in new construction feels typical nowadays. Huh?
Typical or cheap nowadays? I don't know.
It does feel cheap nowadays. Does it? Anytime you add more materials to a project, more footage, whether it's going up or out, it's going to add to the cost of the project. So from 8 to 9 foot, what is that difference? I have no idea. But it's got to cost more, because now you got to buy 9-foot sheets instead of 8-foot sheets, or you got to splice in a foot.
I just did a design for somebody that they wanted to go with 8-foot ceilings because we were doing SIP panels, and it's cheaper to do that with keep it at 8 feet with SIP panels. So we did that, but all the bedrooms were 8 feet. We put a vaulted ceiling in the living space, in the living room, kitchen, dining room area, to raise the ceilings. So that helped a lot.
So you did what now? You did
the exterior. All the exterior walls were 8 feet.
Okay.
But to make it feel more like a high, to make it the ceiling higher, we put a vaulted ceiling in the living room.
Okay. Did you use SIP panels on the roofs?
No, we just used regular trusses.
So you just used kind of a sloping up and over.
Yep.
So you had a little bit of a angled ceiling in the rooms,
right?
Or were the trusses built up a foot?
The trusses have an energy heel, but we put a vault, it's a 612 pitch roof, and so we put a 312 vault over the living room, kitchen, and dining room.
Okay, so you did your trusses like this.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I've designed trusses in the past that came up a foot and then over.
So you created a tray ceiling in it.
Basically,
Yeah.
but the truss was and I've done this on remodeling projects where we were going to maintain the existing walls, but just, we didn't want to have to rebuild all the walls, but we wanted higher ceilings. So we just designed the trusses with a 12-inch heel on the bottom of it to make
Sure.
up that difference to go to 9 feet. So
Yep.
just another way to do it.
Right.
I don't know if that would make a huge difference in the cost of a truss or not, but you're still adding that extra height. So it's like if you're new construction, just frame it that way from the start. That would make sense to me. Is Chief Material List okay for doing takeoff and pricing? Or is QuickBooks or Plan Swift, etc. better? Yeah, Chief's Material List again is it's great for getting your quantity takeoff of your areas, and if you've done the framing in the project, you're going to get a pretty accurate material list for the framing. And then you could go into the program and start adding the prices for those areas. But there's going to be a ton of stuff missing. I mean, Chief's not going to put in, unless you've drawn it in, it's not going to be included in the material list. So you have to be really careful with that. I don't know, John, I'm on the mindset, we just keep doing your bidding, your takeoffs in a different, do it the way you've always done it. Whether you're using a takeoff system like Plan Swift, where you're taking off on the screen using a digitizer, or whatever you do. I mean, what are you thinking about that these days?
Well, like you said, you got to draw the plan really accurate to get a good material list out of Chief. But what I've done in the past is I've used the material list off of Chief, like the areas and stuff like that, to look at that. And if there's a big discrepancy between Chief and my takeoff, I'll go look at that again.
Yeah. So again, the quantity takeoff in Chief's going to be very good if you've drawn the project right. So I when I help people do material lists, yeah, we'll use those numbers. I don't do much with material lists, so I'm not really into the program that much doing that. So it's like I'm not the best authority on that. I know there are some people out there using that. So one of these days we'll have to dig into that. It says tight. I assume you're talking about 8-foot ceilings.
No, up above, yeah, 8-foot ceilings tight nowadays.
Oh,
tight
okay.
Nowadays. In other words, claustrophobic.
Yeah. So his dictation software failed him. People will not entertain an 8-foot plate here. Carl, where are you located? I don't remember. I-joists and trusses, also 24 on center. Okay. All framing lined up to top, bottom, standard drywall. There you go. So, I mean, I've read about this in the past. It always made logical sense to me that would work just fine. The only question I ever had was, would the sheetrock start sagging or anything like that on a 24 center versus a half inch? And if you don't, you're already doing 24 centers on roof trusses, and your OSB sheathing is working fine on that. Of course, I know some guys that always go to 5/8 inch CDX or something like that. Hard to say. Roof pitches, a 4/12 pitch versus a higher pitch. Every time you add an inch to the pitch, you're adding more material. Not necessarily, well, maybe a little bit more labor because you're going to have more shingles. You get to a certain pitch. Now it's not a walker anymore. So now it's going to cost more to put the shingles on. Of course, the way they put shingles on these days is so damn amazing how fast they can whip those things out. But anyway, that's just something to consider. I mean, if you're doing more contemporary styling, maybe a lower pitch is the way to go. And keep it that way.
You brought up the way they're doing shingling nowadays. It's really fast. Some shinglers probably don't know the fastest ways to do it because it started in other parts of the country. Like I remember the last shingling job we did, we learned a new technique to do valleys that was a lot faster.
Really? What'd you do different?
What you do is you take I don't know what it's called, but you just take a shingle and you lay it up the valley, going parallel to the valley, and then you just start laying the shingles on top of that and set the bottom corner of the shingle on I can't really describe it, but you got the part closest to the valley, and you put the bottom corner of the shingle right on that line. You don't cut the valley. There's no cutting in the valley at all.
Oh,
You take the next one, you lay it so the bottom corner hits. It's really fast.
interesting. I'm not familiar with that.
And because you have the laminated shingles now, you don't have the watermarks or the three. You're not using the 3 tab.
Right.
As long as you're 6 inches away on your splice, it doesn't matter where those splices are at anymore.
Okay.
So you just lay it up. It's pretty fast.
It's been a while since I've done any shingling.
Yep.
Prem says.
So my point was, if you see a faster method of doing things, share it with your subs and expect them to get a better price if you're showing them a faster way to do it.
Exactly.
Or at least stable in their pricing.
That's a good point. Educate jurisdiction requirements to avoid redo waste time, labor, materials. Every jurisdiction requirements, every jurisdiction requirements may differ. Mm-hmm. Good point. Good point. Sometimes you have to educate the building officials in your areas. Yeah, I can see that. Carl's in Oklahoma. Okay. Kelsey, remove window headers on non-bearing walls. Only dead load. I know some guys are still resistant to this. Yeah. My brother would be. My brother Doug, he loves to overbuild everything. It drove me nuts back in the construction days because he would always do that kind of stuff. And it's like, Doug, what are you doing that for? Because it's stronger. But doesn't need to be. Anyway, I think I already said the straight stair run thing. Yep. Eliminate the garbage disposal in the kitchen. It's just like, well, that's kind of a personal preference thing, but do composting instead of using garbage disposal. I know a lot more people are doing that. It's kind of a normal thing now. Using a tub shower combo and a master bath instead of a separate tub and a separate shower. Or just get rid of the master bathtub. The bathtub. I see that nowadays. People aren't doing bathtubs. You guys, anybody out here ever you designing any master suites without bathtubs these days? I know a lot of people are designing without the whirlpool tubs. You're just doing soaker tubs. That seems to be more of a norm. You straight up walls, the old build your foundation a size and make sure you double up on top of that. You only have to build your foundation once. Instead of spreading the house out, spread it up. That's going to save you some money, and keep all your walls going straight up somehow. That's just common sense there. Do rough-ins for future baths, things like that. Simplify the roof system as much as possible. Find alternative materials. I was reading an article. They're creating sheathing out of mushrooms.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Talk about eco-friendly. I would have to go find that article, but it was really interesting. So I really encourage you guys to do a little searching on this topic. Get your, because Google does have a lot of information to share with us, or help us find, I should say. Google's just the place that'll get us there. But yeah, definitely do that. And if you find some things, by God, I'd really love to know. Just forward it to me. Forward me the link or something like that, and we can share more of this stuff as time goes on. This is just it's a really interesting topic. As our industry changes a lot, and we as designers have to keep up with all of this stuff. What were you gonna say, John?
I was just gonna kind of change the subject a little bit, but going back to rough-in for future bathrooms. If you're building a starter house or something like that, and somebody wants to be able to expand their home later, make that future bathroom a closet on the first floor so that you can get a certificate of occupancy, or like the attic trusses. Make that like you give them an unfinished basement, give them an unfinished, attic trusses so that they can get a certificate quicker.
Yeah,
bonus room.
Yeah, you see that a lot above garages. The bonus room that you can finish later. Great way to do it. Of course, you're going to pay more for the trusses to make that bonus room happen.
Right.
So it's going to add cost to the project, but the future square footages that they can add, I mean, that's a no-brainer there. So that makes pretty good sense. Let's see. The savings with trusses in the repetition of designs that can be field modified stairway dormers, etc. The savings with truss is in.
It's in the repetition. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
it's really amazing. It always amazes me, especially with Bruce, the one I was showing you earlier with the story and a half. We would be designing dormers and things like that, and you know, I mean, I've been out of the field for a long time now, so I don't remember as much as I used to about the trusses. But God, and I do go into the houses whenever they're in construction. If I can walk in, I go take a look when I can. It's amazing what they do with trusses these days. I mean, if you just give them some ideas, they'll design it, man. It's really something else what they can make out of those. That makes our projects really come alive.
Right.
So what else you got to add, John?
So kind of an off the topic comment or thing that I thought about is sometimes in order to do value engineering or to keep the cost down in a project as designers and stuff, we have to kind of let our ego go by the wayside. In other words, I might want it to look a certain way. I might want it to do it, you know, be able to do a certain thing, but I might have to forego what I really want to make it affordable for the people, you know.
You might have to take off the dormers or you know, that extra piece of trim you want to put on somewhere. Yeah, I know what you mean. You just have
if it's a remodel and I want to move a door 18 inches because it's going to work better, is it really worth moving the door 18 inches? You know, leave the door where it's at and work around it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's easy to design with other people's money, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
When they have it. But if they're on a budget, you got to look out.
Yeah.
So what kind of alternative materials are you guys finding out there? Is there anything different to use besides OSB sheathing for sheathing? I know some builders mentioned they were using the waterproof sheetrock for sheathing. I've heard conflicting stories that people have had trouble with that as far as moisture buildup and things like that. So that's been something I've been seeing people do. Rough-ins are hard to get away with because the planning review that issued the permits are skeptic. Yeah, you got a good point there, Carl. So when it's then
again, it's education too. You know, it's, you know, what's wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with doing that. Doing a bathroom rough-in,
right?
You know, because the planning review people aren't for it.
Well, you know, I always put dotted lines, and future bath is what I put on the plan. So rough-in for future bath, especially in lower levels. That's usually not an issue on a lower level. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to pour a concrete floor, it makes no sense to not put the drains in right away. So
sell it on an environmental issue, you know, because you're not wasting.
Right. Let's see what else we're seeing out there these days. Heard guys going back to the old CDX plywood for roof sheathing and things like that instead of OSB. I know. What have you heard anything about the shortages and all that stuff? Are we seeing any let up on that as far as is it, you know, are they picking up production at all, or is are they still, you know, really way behind?
The last I heard from somebody that is still building, which I'm not doing any building right now really, but last I heard from a friend was OSB is $50 a sheet, but yet the lumberyard has bundles and bundles and bundles and bundles of it. Like there's plenty there. So why is it still $50 a sheet? You know,
that's what I'm wondering. Who's profiting from all of this? Someone's making a few bucks off of these exorbitant prices. I did a little research on if you go search Louisiana Pacific, or, you know, there's 5 big lumber suppliers in the U.S. 3 of them are publicly traded. So you can get at their financials. And I was looking at, I think it was Weyerhaeuser's financials here a week or 2 ago. And I really wish I would have bought stock in Weyerhaeuser a year ago, because their stock prices are up triple. So the stockholders are doing very well in the lumber world. So it's like, yeah, it's frustrating, I guess is one word to look at, that they're taking advantage of the situation. Now, I don't know anything about that. I don't do stock. I don't know anything about any of that stuff. All I know is I looked at the financials, and it's like, yeah, they're making a lot of profits. The profits were 750 billion last year, million, not billion, million. And the year before was 250. Wow. So it's like, yeah, okay, what's going on? And I agree, some of the shortages are because of the supply. There's such a huge demand right now, and not enough supply to keep that up. So yeah, there's going to be that. With COVID, some of the suppliers or some of the loggers, the millers, all of that stuff, they cut back production because the people had to stay home and all that stuff. Yeah, I get all of that. But really, $50 a sheet for OSB, there's something wrong there. So anyway, unfortunately, the little guys like us can't do anything about it anyway. So we just have to go with the flow and do what we can. So I don't. Let's not get into that. It gets too frustrating. Carl says, now I remember your rough in a bonus room and then complete it without calling the city to get an inspection. Yeah, but that's not your problem as a designer.
But that's why the city doesn't encourage it.
Well, they don't encourage it, but they certainly can't. Can they disallow it? No, you can't put a rough in here because you might not call us someday when you get a permit.
Right.
Can they do that legally? Doesn't seem to me that'd be a good argument. That's a valid argument. I could see where they might try to do that, but it's really not your problem. That's whoever finishes it out, it's a problem.
Yeah. Why can't the city any new homeowner say, you have this unfinished space, as soon as they're transferring the title or the deed to the property, make the homeowner aware. If you want to finish off this unfinished space, you need to get a permit to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. But no, I get it. So Carl says, yes, they will. Yes, they will not allow the permit to be pulled because of that. Is that what you're asking or saying? Better go have a talk with those people. Turn you down. Yes, it sounds logical, but no go. Makes no sense to me.
No.
That's getting a little dictatorial, in my opinion. To make assumptions based on future what might happen stuff. But okay, you just have to, you gotta love government. Again, we won't talk about that, but you gotta love the government. Anyway, this has been a fun topic. So you guys, thanks for all your comments. Herbert's got a building area and several zoning codes is regulated by the FAR, floor area ratio.
You're talking about floor area ratio to windows, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he means by that. I know what that means, but I don't know if that's got something to do with the rough-in that we were just talking about. Yeah. Anyway, regardless, you guys, thanks for being here. This was fun. We'll maybe keep this topic going if I come up with some good things. By all means, would love to have you guys. Again, let me know. Just bring it on to us, and we'll kind of keep the topic going. So with the Chief Experts, again, we have the ProAcademy, of which I'm just finishing up when I finish up the mastering course, we're going to jump back in the ProAcademy, and we're going to go gangbusters with that, with a bunch of stuff. So I'll be letting you know about that as time goes on here, but feel free. You can go find out more about the ProAcademy over at Chief Experts in the store. Just click on the ProAcademy link. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Would love to tell you more about it. So thanks for joining us here. I appreciate it. And John and I will see you in 2 weeks. Remember, we're going the first and third Fridays of the month as the designer show now. So please join us next time, and we'll see you then. In the meantime, you guys take care and keep planning away, man, or whatever you do. John, we'll see you later.
Yeah, we'll see ya.